All right. Hey, folks, this is Emily. I'm back. In my video I recorded earlier today, I tried to get us up to speed on climate news for the last couple of weeks and its many big implications. But now I want to make a more personal check in. That video that I made earlier had a lot of science and reasoning. This video, I want to share with you this experience I had while I was recovering from surgery. It's gonna take me a while to tell you, and like these pieces come together. I think even now that I'm not super drugged up, but fundamentally, if you're rolling with me on this video, if you're watching this with me, you're here for the drug-induced vision of the future. So be aware. That's a disclaimer. I've activated that. So I'm gonna relax a little bit. I'm like wearing my blanket because I'm cold. I am still taking just fistfuls of non-narcotic pain medication. I try to do my best to be accurate and clear when I'm explaining science stuff. The last 2 weeks, I've not been able to be accurate or clear because I've been a lot more like a starfish than usual. I had abdominal surgery requiring general anesthesia, and for a lot of reasons, unsurprisingly to many of you, I am a difficult patient. I have felt so lucky and so grateful to be wonderfully supported during my operation and recovery. My community came through for me in a big way. I feel like I am on a path towards full healing. It's good I had this surgery. I include the AR community in that community that supports me in my community. I heard from so many of you. I've been really moved by your care and concern. People sent me wonderful letters and cards. They even sent me this ridiculous hat. In the world that we're living in, I think funny hats are more important than ever. So, my first 3 days I was coming out of surgery, I was in an altered state of consciousness. There are several reasons for this, but the basic underlying reason is that I'm some kind of a werewolf. Many people in my family have had adverse reactions to anesthesia. The only other time I got put under was for impacted wisdom teeth when I was 14. I woke up weeping, confused, and terrified in the dark in a supply closet where I had escaped to and hidden after physically attacking a nurse. It's the only time I've ever physically attacked a person, and I don't remember it. I feel awful still about the whole thing. So I told my medical team about this history. I was also open about the fact that I have pretty bad PTSD, which has implications for successful post surgical care. The medical team, of course, is also aware that I'm a big muscular person. The obvious solution, they drug the absolute hell out of me. Safest thing to do, most medically indicated thing to do for everyone involved in my care. So for 3 days post surgery, I was in this very soft, altered state. This could have been very frightening. I was quite helpless. My husband, he took wonderful care of me during this time. Whenever my awareness of my helplessness came up and frightened me, he was very patient with my fear. And so most of this time, I was not afraid at all. I was just like drifting up and down, like on this glass elevator through levels of consciousness for long periods of time. I would sink down to this low primordial levels of consciousness, like a loss of consciousness. And every time I would come up from that place, this is where it's going to get really weird. I kept trying to get my attention. I wasn't frightened by me at all, although it took me some time to realize that there were two of me. I thought that maybe there was a mirror. I thought it was all very silly. I would wake up, I would find it very amusing, and I knew that I would. I was amused and gentle with myself. I really can only describe it like if you were ever at the fancy mall with the glass elevator, right? If you were riding on the elevator past your friend on the second floor, she could give you a message, right? She could signal to you, we gotta go to Hot Topic or whatever. If she could get your attention, she could do it. Imagine that you're riding that elevator, the glass elevator, like 75 times. She's gonna get your attention eventually. You're gonna be able to communicate with her. I took this elevator ride past myself like a lot of times. Enough times I could eventually make sense of what I was telling myself. And it's interesting because I wasn't afraid at all. There was no like fearful urgency. It was like I was talking to myself in such a gentle way that I wouldn't have been able to do before having this experience. I've never had such a strange circular experience in my life. I was talking to myself in the early summer, like May, June. I was talking to myself about a probable future unfolding, not a faded future, but ones where the odds are stacking up of a heat dome overlaying much of the US, a 20 to 30 degrees summer anomaly heat dome. Similar size anomaly to the one we've been having in January, February here, So, now that I'm back in a more linear reality, that really doesn't seem that crazy to think of a major 20-degree heat anomaly, heat dome. I communicated with myself from that future regarding the critical importance of preparing for extended daytime highs of about 120 with no power. That there is a probable period sort of firming up of 5 to 7 days of intense heat dome over much of the country, accompanied by cascading utility failure. Of course, I don't want this to happen. I have been obedient, though, to my wishes in this vision because I'm always willing to embarrass myself if maybe it'll help. And all I've been telling myself to do is to ask people a question. So I'm asking you this here. If it were 120 degrees and there were no power, what is your plan? It's an important question. I've been asking people that. My family is really fortunate. We have good underground space we're going to set up. I'm asking this question to people in my community. I'm looking at people I care about and looking in the eyes and I'm asking them that question. And of course, I want to ask that question to the AR community. What is your plan? Because if this future comes to pass, I want you to be safe. I want you to survive this first pass. And it would not be so impossible for us in the inland US to see those temperatures. 120 sounds really crazy, but if you're in the Midwest like I am, we saw it hit over 115 in the 1930s. That year, it got record highs we haven't seen since, but it's happened. It's happened in human memory. It happened when there was a lot of soil up in the air. In the Dust Bowl, we hit those records for summer heat we haven't hit since. Out on my land and me, we grew a windbreak, right, to catch the snow. I took some shorts of it. We caught this great blessing of snow. I caught 8 feet of snow, I measured. We still have snow. Even after this, like, what's it been, like almost 20 days above freezing? I still have big, measurable piles of snow in the yard, sinking in gradually, feeding everyone. All the roots are taking it up. The snow isn't all that we caught, though. We caught just a tremendous amount of black topsoil. The color's wrong. It's not from around here. It blew in from pretty far away. It's all over my place. It's sinking into the ground now. An observable layer, several millimeters thick, of fine black topsoil. So I think there's a lot of soil in the air right now. If we hit conditions, it's 120 degrees out, you're going to need to lay low in the day somewhere cool. You're going to have access to water. In this vision, if we want to call it that, the big concern is the cascading utility failure more than the temps. A couple of weeks where things are messed up even after the temperatures come down, where you still have this cascading utility failure to deal with. So, to me, I think the biggest part of making your plan, if I could give some advice, is know where to go. If you're in an apartment, you could come back and check on your place at night, but don't stay there and cook yourself during the day. Where are you going to go? You got to make a plan now. What's the best substantially underground space in your area? Universities are a good thought to check. They tend to have substantial underground space. There's usually up to sub-basement level space in most universities. Sometimes manufacturing facilities have substantial underground space. Sometimes your cousin has substantial underground space. It's important that we talk about these things. It's important that you make a plan that requires as little travel as possible. It's important to make a plan that takes into account your heat sensitive products. Many medications that are fine at room temperatures, you're going to lose them if you get heat that intense inside your home. A lot of stuff you might have in the garage, your fuels, your chemicals, they might not be safe if it goes under over 120. Like talk to your cousin in Phoenix. What can you not keep in a garage in Phoenix that maybe you could keep in a garage in Wisconsin? This is the sort of practical information that if you think about it a little bit beforehand, you're going to save yourself some trouble. If your plan involves off-grid tech, if you have solar or a generator or whatever, I'm asking you, do a favor to me, test it first. A lot of folks, if they're doing that first test in an emergency, they regret that. If that's the first time they've switched their solar array from connection to the grid to powering the house, they regret testing that in an emergency. And many people I've talked to who have purchased solar generators have found them to underperform. Many generators, even gas generators, they can, of course, run some appliances, but you got to test it because many of them, they can't actually put out the power to run AC. So do me a favor, do a good test. And when you test, you got to know the actual conditions would be tougher than the test conditions. So don't get cocky. You got to make a plan that considers the vulnerable. Young children, the elderly, and people with harder lung conditions are the most vulnerable to death by heat. We have to prioritize their protection. I was going to make a more organized video about this. You know, I don't want to scare people. I want to help people. And if you kept watching this, you know I made a disclaimer. This is not a science video. This is a video of my drug-induced warning. I'm still recovering, you can probably tell. I'm tired now. I can't do any more today, but I wanted to ask you the question. If it were 120 degrees and there were no power, what would be your plan? You need to do the rest. You know, ask your friends the question, pool your resources, and come up with a plan. When I was trying to get my attention about this, I wasn't yelling or scary or apocalyptic. It took me a while to listen, but then I got it. I figured it out. When you ask the question, try to take the same approach that I did. Ask it like a game. Play what if. Play a game with me. Play. What if a heat dome, similar to the 1936 heat dome, hit the US early in summer of 2024? Play what if hackers, primarily backed by China, took this opportunity to destabilize the many, many utility systems that they are known to have developed vulnerabilities way to the back end. This could impact water and power infrastructure across large portions of the country. You can play what if. That was the beginning of some really weird weeks. When I went to that conference in Duluth this past fall, I heard what we were going to go through, what we're going through now, given a name. I heard a man call it the turning. What can we do? We're going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to do all the good we can. And let's get ready. All right. Drug-induced vision disclaimer off. We're going to get back to observable information, back to consensus science. Final note, whether we continue on a modeled warming pathway or we hit collapse through the AMOC collapse, it's going to take a while. It's going to be some years as things shake out. None of this stuff happens instantaneously. So a prepared mindset, an active, aware, observing, community-oriented mindset, if you're a person like me who's in it for the long haul, who's choosing the harder future, the future where you try your best and you keep going, it's important to get ready. Stay with me. We're going to do the best we can. We'll do it together. Bye. Folks, thanks for being here with me. The support for American Resiliency is just incredible. People have given so much to this project. It's the reason why I'm able to keep doing it. I want you to know this last month is the first month that we are off the runway. We are on target to being able to be with you, keeping an eye on the news, trying to get you the information you need indefinitely. Thank you so much for everyone here with me. Talk to you again soon.